This is Edmonton Real Estate Today. I'm your host, Leroy Warden. And today I have with me Scott King and Ed Joseph of Indeed Financial. Scott and Ed, welcome.
Thank you, Leroy.
Thanks, Leroy.
All right. As a homeowner or as a consumer, when would an emergency fund be a priority if I have consumer debt?
Very good question, Leroy. First of all, people don't think of keeping an emergency fund at all. Their emergency fund is often their credit card or their line of credit. We believe that you should put an emergency fund in place. So then the question becomes, well then, if I'm trying to pay debt, how do I also do an emergency fund? What does that look like? We think you should start at $1,000.
Okay.
$1,000 is good because if your brakes go on the car, it's going to be within that range. If the furnace, something happens with the furnace, you need a plumber into the house, it's usually going to be within that range. So if you keep $1,000 separate, then you're typically safe. Now, the question is, well, do I put an emergency fund? Should I get out of debt first? Maybe I should get out of debt first.
Right.
The important thing is to have that emergency fund in place. In fact, I would suggest that you do not do anything but the minimums for your revolving debt, your credit card debt, and put that money instead into an emergency fund until you get that $1,000 built up.
Oh, okay. So
Because what will happen is if you are hitting your debt, next thing you know, an emergency happens and you have
you're
nothing in the
back
way
there again.
and you're back into debt.
So then instead of paying the debt, you're saying I make my minimum payments, contribute the extra money to building up that emergency fund.
Correct.
Once I've arrived there, then I start putting that money onto the credit cards.
Now, this is again after your debt is tackled. If you're an employee, we look at you saving as an emergency fund anywhere from 3 to 6 months of expenses.
Oh, okay.
If you're self-employed, 6 to 12 months.
Oh, I see.
So you actually take this money and you're putting it into a separate account that is off as an emergency. But before your debt is tackled, it's $1,000.
Oh, I see. That's where we start.
Now, you might be wondering, well, we had the $1,000, we began getting after the credit card, then we had a $500 emergency. So with that, we then take care of that. Instead of turning to credit, we pay cash for that emergency. We go back to our minimum payments and we refund, you got it, Leroy, we refund that back to $1,000 so that we're prepared for the next thing. Now, I just want to talk about the language around emergency fund. Take it or leave it. I'm not a big fan of the word emergency fund because there's power in words. Yes. And why are we calling it that and then speaking into the universe that I'm going to have an emergency? Perhaps we'll call it our peace of mind account.
Okay.
See?
Right.
I would much rather have peace of mind than an emergency. Okay, it's semantics maybe, but there's power in words, and let's be careful of what we're speaking out into the universe.
Okay. So we build ourselves a peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. All right.